Hi, everybody. How are you? This is Joanna. Thank you to the Early Morning Ascension Show. Today, we're going to talk about all the wonderful things that we talk about to brighten our community of light, our health and wellness, and how important it is to do our daily self-care, our children and families, and how that's affecting the awakening process on our planet, the global experience that everybody is moving through. It's not going to go backwards. We're going to continue awakening into light. It will be a global experience, a collective experience. So we're really excited to bring all of our teaching all over the years that we've been collaborating. And I say we, me and my teams in the Collective of Light and the Councils of Light and all the beings that we work with as the alignment of 5D. The many heavens that we work with, and heavens is absolutely explained outside of religion, but also included within it. We call in the heavens from what the Mother and the Father Source Creator, the Great One, and all that we are as Metatronic light, expanding out into our most expansive experience for the evolution of humanity, Gaia, and all that we are as a galactic and cosmic experience, universal, as we explained yesterday. Because we are far grander than we see, and this is why the starfish is so expansive, because it reminds us from our very heart, and we are so expansive in all that we are, and how we are harmonizing these new high vibrational 5D potentials and creating these new beautiful timelines that each and every one of us get to creatively explore, experience, and express in who we are as spirit in the human experience. We are spirit carrying around our bodies carry our spirit, and our spirit carries our bodies. Our spirit is profound, and it's in all things if we so choose, how to harmonize within the soul of all that we are. Our bodies could not survive without our spirit. And so thus then it is absolutely in everything that we move through in everyday life. Health and wellness, all that we are as spirit, and understanding that, all that we are, what exists within this, all that we are, and who really are we as spirit, and how can we start manifesting greater health and greater wellness and greater balance within our communities and our families. And then allowing it to be a part of the community outreach, because the community outreach and what the 5D experience is all about is unity and oneness, because our planet has been the story of separation. How far could we go? And each and every one of us is signed on for that exploration. How far could we go in the movement of Source Creator to have forgotten that we are Source and then make our way back in the remembrance of Source? And that is the process of awakening. Self-evolution, enlightenment, or awakening, or self-actualizations of many of the ancient yogis and many masters talked about self-actualization. And understanding that all is Source Creator, the God, and one, the law of one, the universal laws that we all operate within, because we are physiological, biological science within matter, and the spirit is the one that operates all of that science matter. That spirit is aligning with your higher self and aligning with the soul of who you are. And in doing so, and in surrendering to that higher self and guidance, which knows the science of all that you are, therefore you're having the ultimate control. We say control in the most highest benevolent, honoring of sovereignty ways, not in the 3D experience that we've all damaged ourselves from. And we say the navigator and the commandmentship of who you are. That means that you're taking commandmentship and you're taking responsibility for who you are as a divine sovereign being, returning all power and all light back within, where it always should have been and always has really been, but we've been operating and giving our power outside of us, which then feeds all of our energy away from us into systems that do not have our highest and best, and allowing us to believe that we're not valuing who we are as beings of light. Just to be here is an expression of giftedness. We don't necessarily have to work and create that work effort, which is what the egocentric oligarchy systems have been for thousands of years, is the ability of value system that we've all been brought up in, is not really truly who we are and where that 5D is. That 5D is the value system of who you are with spirit, as spirit expressing it, experiencing it, and exploring it. And that is the evolution of who you are as a being. And that's all we are responsible for, is our own evolution of light and how we incorporate that light in all things, because that is the sovereign experience of who we are in all of creation, because we are multidimensional universal beings. And when we start to understand that, we want to start incorporating in our everyday life, because it absolutely does create greater health, greater wellness. You start harmonizing as the soul, and you're not feeling so separate from all that is, because so much of our generational children's collective right now are high vibrational kids, and they're feeling so lost in these archaic, outdated systems that simply do not serve them in any way. And so we're having to rewrite them and infuse greater light of a multidimensional experience, because they're multidimensional. They understand they are. And why so many of them have so many troubles with their ideas of belonging and fitting in, because their value system through which they were born with, through the DNA, they carry greater life source. That greater life source understands that they understand their perfection as life source, but they're not being taught any systems that have life source experience that we've taught on this channel right from day one. And that was part of my offering and why I came to this planet, because I'm like the crystal children and the rainbow children, a lot of hybrid children that have multidimensional DNA that are not yet known, studied, or honored in the traditional medical systems, which I will be a part of in the future, infusing and upgrading, because there's so much to be known about the children's hybrid DNA and a lot of the synthetic experiences that they're placed within misdiagnoses and how they are supported and treated is not necessarily how their bodies will honor, as opposed to the natural elements and the natural herbs that their bodies are naturally able to process and heal themselves quite quickly. So there's going to be so much transmutation in all of these arenas, and why mothers and all of us that are mothers and have been caretakers and in so many different arenas of work will see all of these experiences in our socioeconomic systems change and transmute, because we're looking for higher vibrational wisdoms. We're looking for higher vibrational alignment with who we are as spirit. And that's what the awakening process offers us. It's like, wow, none of this is working. So what? What now? Well, who are you? What do you exist within and what exists within you? And then you create a whole multidimensional system of love and light so that you are honored in who you are. And you are absolutely creating your unique plan with your teams, your guides, your higher self, the mother and father within you, balancing male and female energies, using all that you are as a multidimensional system and operating experience of love, the epicenter of you. And then you start nourishing yourself in the epicenter of who you are. The joy of you, the excitement of you, the exploration of you, feeding you, you feeding you, you feeding you. And then you manifest the light and the life that you desire. We are here to manifest and process and start integrating greater light, because our planet will continue to operate in greater light. And so as we operate greater light, all of those stories of limitation that we've always been brought up in for thousands of years will all be triggered, and why we see what's happening out in our collective. And so we're going to talk about today the multidimensional facets of who we are and how we bring them into our everyday life. How do we begin talking about it? How do we make ascension normal? How do we normalize this exciting, incredible process, which is not really normal? It's an exciting evolution of every single being that's going through this process of awakening. And it doesn't matter what you call it, you're becoming more of who you are as a soul. You're allowing yourself to become more cosmic, more galactic, more multidimensional. The sooner that you allow yourself to accept all of your newness, and again, we say the sooner, meaning that denying what's going on and the resisting of what's going on, the resistance of change will just keep you in a bumpy experience, and just letting go of those stories and just say yes to the change and say yes to the transmutation, because our children are waiting for it. Our planet is waiting for it. All systems are waiting for it. It's been like this for eons, and now it's time to change and really get excited about it. And so our early morning ascension show is going to be about understanding ascension at an introduction level as best as possible, because we've been doing this for so very long. And I am a divine sister and mother from the Pleiades, and I was part of the original collective that came here and from our very first human experience. And I came from the Pleiades in a beautiful light ship, and I was sharing tribal wisdoms of healing to one of our very first ancient human experiences here on Earth as a Pleiadian collective of the mothers and the sisters that came to offer healings and offer teachings. And so it's really wonderful that I get to play that part now as humanity and our planet is going through a global connective experience where we're reconnecting and remembering ourselves as cosmic and galactic, because I get to renew myself in that role. And the Councils of Light wanted me to bring this forward, a caveat, because I have experienced so much manifestations in my experience because of my uniqueness and because of my experiences as being a seer and a prophet and a visionary, a conduit, a Christed. We can say all these names of all that they want that I have access to, and the gifts. I've had many, many lifetimes here on many planets and many galaxies. I am a queen within the many heaven programs, and that queen is of the most sacred and honorable, reverent experiences and humble reverence experiences. And I honor that experience as the heavens. And I came here just like many crystal children, feeling like I don't belong and not balanced because of the many dysfunctions and neglect and experiences that I've grown up within. And then to manifest it in all relationships because of those early wounds and why I created those teaching systems, the backstory of how I've created all of these ascension teaching systems. And many years ago, when I awoke, when my daughter was born, that's when the process really started to become everything in my life was the remembrance of all of my galactic and celestial experiences coming back to life and starting to harmonize who I really am as a being of light. And then looking back at all the signposts of why I experienced everything that I did, and then all of those memories starting to come back online. When you're ready to awaken, you'll have these experiences that just come up to the surface. And then you'll remember these snapshots and these flashes. And this is what the global awakening is doing at a collective level as well. We're now feeling all of the rumblings from our collective about all of the abuses and the imbalances of the divine feminine and all minority groups. And so how we're rebalancing that by bringing divine feminine back to the forefront to rebalance the entire collective of the many belief systems that divine feminine have kind of been written out of. Our ability to create loving leadership and healing experiences and educational experiences that have nothing to do with traditionality. But we can include it, right? It's a beginning point, but we are multidimensional beings, and the intuitive emotional body is how we receive that higher vibrational experience. We are multidimensional beings of love and light and intuitiveness. We are the science and we are the spirit. And so understanding this incredible harmonization of infinite potentiality, the eternal life, is which was taught about in many of the sacred texts, that is the understanding of who we are as God beings, creator beings. And this is the Metatronic experience that transcends every religion, but it's also included in it because how one worships their experience of God is unique and precious. It's always valid. But we're here to rebalance the basic human rights of every aspect of life being valued and being honored within the process, because why would we leave any part of God's experience out of the equation? And that's why anything in the universe that is out of balance, to the degree that it has been on Earth, creates tremendous de-evolution and then eventual corruption of all life. Because everything in life there's a very sacred and elegant balance, as we know about our planet, that is being degraded in every way. And so it's really time that each and every one of us, and why we're seeing what we are seeing unfold, is the rehabilitation and the renewal and the rebuilding of who we really are as spirit, and to rebuild it into a beautiful experience that releasing all of those old vibrational stories and understanding how they get carried in our experiential DNA, our lineage, and our Akash, and really how to start manifesting a beautiful life of health and wellness, and really start creating a platform of the most highest degree of honoring of who we are as sacred, and then allowing the children to really take place and go their incredible ways of experience. And so that's just a bit of the backstory, but they wanted me to bring this forward because there has been far too many taking advantage of me and my historical offerings. And so this is from the Councils of Light. There have been many experiences that there's experiences of copying and plagiarisms. And so this is from the Councils of Light. Plagiarists who have taken any of our work do not understand the channeled energies and the vibrations within and behind what we have offered. And without written permission, those that you continue to use our work, they will be blocked. And so we've presented over the many years on all my social platforms that I have never had any paid partners approach me. Nobody's asked me to be a part of if they want to present a class. So any copying of the work, any copying of any of the diagrams that we create, the Councils of Light wanted me to create that statement, and we will be protecting it with copyright and LLC, so that we are making sure that all of those are no longer going to be taken advantage of, because there's been, me struggling by moment for moment to pay my bills, and, my checks getting bounced while others are making money off of my work and saying that it's theirs, and not truly understanding the vibrational intention and understanding the vibrational stories. And as a seer and a conduit, I'm able to see the threading of the multidimensional elegance. And so how I am able to explain it and orient it in the way that is going within the collective needs. When I'm given a vision, I am also given the immediate collective experience of what some of the vibrations and how it's being aligned with, and how it's motivated from the injuries and the wounds. And so it's a multidimensional experience I get when I create and when I speak. That's why it's a multidimensional experience. So there are those that have plagiarized our work. And so the councils wanted me to come forward. They've never done that before. They've told me to give those experiences on the social platforms, and I've written them out saying that we have not been offered any partnerships. I've never been approached by email by anyone to share my work. And so if there's those out there that are using it, that look at our videos and then go create their own stuff, the Councils of Light have indicated that they will be blocked if they're not using it with integrity of the communication and offering to be paid fairly on it. And so there are people that do that. They don't have our highest and best interest at heart, because again, you know, those are just the intentions that some work with. And I've been taken advantage of for far too long. And so the Councils of Light said no more. So everybody's been warned, as far as, I don't like to say that, but we've been writing all of those experiences on our websites for years now. You know, every other month, and every month I've been stating that on our blogs and on our websites, because I've been being shown by my spirit teams and my guides that there are people using our stuff that are not even including me in any of it, or not even, you know, giving note to my name at all. And they've been, as we can tell, and this is just some, I've got boxes and boxes in storage. These are just, and I deserve the fair share and energy of my resources. I've been here many, many times, and I deserve the fair share and the resources energies that I've put in 24/7 on all that I do for humanity, and for understanding the multidimensional systems and the healing and the wellness of it. And so thank you, Councils of Light, for allowing me to stand in my power and say that I've offered everything from day one, just from the passion of my heart. And it's the Councils of Light have said it's not fair that there's been continuous taking advantage, even though we've come forward time and time and time again, sending those written experiences. And we've offered it in the videos many, many times. And so, you know, this is Spirit's way of saying no more. The innocent will no longer be taken advantage of. And there will be vibrational blocks, whether it's on finances, whether it's on whatever connections that those are trying to make by not doing the work. Because you have your own gifts. So going within and operating from that experience of your own gifts, those are only to inspire you to go within and say, well, how can I use this information and inspire something brand new? And that's what allowing your unique creative experiences to be. We're all here to inspire one another. And because we're a collective one heart, it's really good and creative that we get to feed off of those creative sparks. But there are those moments, and Source and Spirit would rarely ever come forward in doing this. But there has been my experience has been very unique in the amount of times and the number of ways and the number of experiences that I've been taken advantage of. And so Spirit, this is why Spirit's coming forward. And it's been, again, years that this has been going on. And so Spirit has just come forward with that little caveat. And I honor that, because now Spirit is saying, Spirit is saying in this channel, we've got your back, and we always have. And so thank you, Spirit, for supporting me, because they know how hard I work and the energy and the devotion that I put into this. And it matters to me. It's been my life, many timelines. And this is the timeline where it matters that I get the fair share and the resources and the benevolence that's honored through the work and intention which it was offered. Because it's Spirit. Spirit understands what the collective needs. Spirit understands what the issues are and what the issues are forthcoming. Spirit understands what the collective hybrid and crystalline children would need, and how I can thread it in from my own personal experiences, soul lifetime, and soul lifetime experiences, and what their bodies need. And so to maintain a healthy sustenance and maintenance, so they can start processing greater light, because their bodies are far highly vibrational than ours are. And the vibrational densities of the traditions of what we're being taught are not activating their light in the way that it can be. So I appreciate Spirit. Thank you. So let's move on to lighter experiences. So we're going to talk about children's soul blueprints, which is really, really important. And then we're going to talk about 2 herbs, which are one of my favorite herbs that the children can also use as well. And one of my favorite herbs is bergamot. And I've used bergamot in essential oils. I've used it in tea. I love the essential tea. Bergamot I used for many years in the essential oil. And bergamot for me is a great soothing agent for anxiety and just that upliftment. And so if you're going through a really stressful time, having to produce, workshops and things that you've got to get things pressed out, or you're going through a deep release, or there's going through some family transition or trauma, then just you can just smell it, the essential oils. And this is actually a mistifier, and you can just spray it through your space. When I have groups and meetings here and meditations for the community, we're creating communities of light. And this is what all of our shows offer, is how to create communities of light. And communities of light begin, with your community within you. who you are with your higher self and your soul, and why you have a higher self and your soul. They're there to guide you and to be the highest benevolence of you, to activate you with all of your gifts. And why, again, they're going back to the creations of all that we've offered, is because they're my unique gifts that I've had in many, many lifetimes. And so too does everybody else. But we are here to offer the inspiration, the empowerment, and the encouragement that you so too can as well create something really unique for you, so that your unique gift is part of that tapestry. You don't want to create something that's an exact replica in paper form, but then your vibration is not honoring the offering of it in the way that it was intended to. And there is vibrational truth in all things. So if you're offering something that is not vibrational truth of what it's been created in, then it's only going to be a mimic. And that mimic has its potential authenticity and genuine vibration, and those can be felt. So that's why when you're going within and you're creating your authenticity of who you are as spirit and who you are as a creative expansiveness, you're activating all the timelines that you've come from and all your ancestors as well. I have many, many ancestors, and I'm just remembering from my grandmother, her ability to share her perspective as a divine feminine and share it into the community, so there would be greater wisdom and stories brought forward from the divine feminines, because back then there was no divine feminine experience for sharing. So we're creating communities of light through, again, the social platforms that we all co-create within, and understanding that as we're moving forward in this awakening process, we don't necessarily have to go through the traditional means to become more of who we are, because they're naturally and organically activated as we fall into that awakened self-love and unconditional trust, that we're beginning to nurture ourselves and releasing these vibrational roles and definitions and stories that are from eons of limitation, fear-based experiences and limitation, and so much control. And as we said yesterday, that control is really one of the most harmful vibrations on our multidimensional health. And so why we're allowing ourselves to release it, return to center, and that daily self-care helps us outline that creative joy factor, which is our vibrational portal to 5D. That vibrational joy factor allows every single unique person to come forward with their unique gifts and their own unique vibration. Because when you're in vibrational co-creation of who you are, you absolutely know that what you're creating is in alignment with you, because it feels so rich and pure and real. And so that's really, really important. When you're in alignment with who you are and what you're expressing, it can be felt and it can be known. And that's what we want to see with our children. We want to see our children go, we want to get them really excited to go here and here and here and try all of these things, because they're so limited and they're being taught and put in a box about how they can express and what they can express. And we want to just lift the ceiling and the lid off it all and just be free to express who they are and have the freedom of source, which is the healing agent, bathe and cleanse all, so that there's unlimited and eternal flow of that energy, so that you're the most expansive and you're the most creative, and therefore creation in and of itself, every person is then spanning out instead of being stuck and boxed. And that is where most of the illnesses and the disease occur, is when we're compressed, we're depressed, and we're suppressed, because we're not allowed to express and share ourselves because of the eons of stories that we've been told. And all masters have come forward to show us the very same experience, they've been packaged in different experiential religions, if you will, and dogma, and that's fine and accepting as well. However, all masters came forward to teach the essence of who we are as multidimensional spiritual beings. And we are infinite in our potentiation to transmute and transform all that we are. And that is through the level of honoring and the constant awakening of our consciousness. Consciousness means I'm aware that I'm a reality creator of my body, inner and outer, and all above and around. In that, you get to awaken your multidimensional gifts and see and hear and sense and know things that you didn't necessarily know a moment before. And that's oftentimes what happens when I'm just sitting and musing and I'm just working with my teams in the morning, and I'll just have a vision. They'll place a vision in my field, or spirit or God creator. This is the only way I know how to explain it. And again, because I'm a conduit and a multidimensional seer and experiencer with God, how I experience things and how I create things is a multidimensional experience, and I can't necessarily explain each one as it comes because it's different. When I see a client, it's different. When I'm seeing energies and blockages or a medical experience that needs to be resolved or cared for, I see it in a different way. When I'm sitting and just viewing and experiencing spirit, I see a vision or an image, and it just necessarily not in my third eye, but it's just the experience of who I am with spirit, because spirit knows how I need to receive information and how I transmute it and translate it. As we're going through the ascension process, and you're loving and you're honoring yourself for all of those beautiful packets of light that spirit has waiting for you. Remember the spiritual matter that we always talk about? The spiritual matter is always in your multidimensional potentiation. But unless you're clearing out those fears and those beliefs about you expressing yourself freely, about not being persecuted for your expression, about not being ostracized, and all of those fears and those 3D stories that we all work through, the 51% of our karma, then you're allowing yourself to really love and honor all of your gifts. And the more that you love and honor all of your gifts and love who you are in the expression of you, all of those spiritual matter packets start to come online, if you will. So it's just like updating your computer. Those codes are just automatically there. Those imprints, those visions, those knowings, those dreams, those whatever it is that you're given, because everyone has a different way of processing light. Spirit is all light. That's the Metatronic factor, if you will, of all that we are. And so because I've come from many, many timelines and universes, and I've come here as a multidimensional teacher many, many times, and many timelines that they're showing me, in different ways, I'm able to communicate information based on the level of consciousness awareness that I am relaying to. And those that are uniquely directed to our videos are those that are wanting those informations at a multidimensional experience, because they're understanding what next, what next, what next. They're inspired to inspire themselves and to get activated in ways through which our vibration offers. When I'm receiving things from spirit, it is a multidimensional experience, and I just seem to allow the information of what is imprinted and impressed upon me by the threads that I'm able to pull from. And I say threads, and it's just the way that I'm able to explain it and how it's given to me. It could be a packet of information right here within my experience, and then I just call it in, and it's there. My higher self and my soul calls it in for what I need, and I need it, it's just there. And because that's the opening and living with Source Creator at your heart, and the information is just there. And so that doesn't happen all the time. Most often, then yes, it's just how I sense God. It's right here and it's there. And in any other way, sometimes it's here, sometimes there, sometimes it's in the energy field. It doesn't matter where. But that's just your knowing, and you're working with spirit every day and maintaining your fields and your clarity and maintaining who you are as spirit and loving yourself. The joy factor and the love is so important, and why that daily self-care is so important for all children to begin processing what they're going through, allowing their emotions to come forward and be felt and freed and then released, right? Emotions are never meant to be suppressed forever, because that's when illness and disease start. Because those emotions and those inner woundings of the psyche or the Akasha or other timelines, everybody will have timeline wounds that they have to release. They will be absolutely threaded with what you co-create in your everyday interactions, because that's how you trigger them. And so that's how I received any of those informations, and why they're showing me that, and why it's better explanatory to what we've offered in our books and in our explanations, our illustrations, and how we offer what we offer, is because at a multidimensional experience, they can show me what needs to be offered for the collective, and how and why and what they're going through. For example, we'll give you an experience right now that they were offering me before the class. How to transmute energy, because I'm an offerer of inspirational source energy and creational energy, and understanding universal laws, and how to transmute what you're going through, and how to bring yourself back to center and allow yourself to work with whatever you have and know that you can transmute it. Not to worry about outcome, not to worry about what the ego wants you to worry about. Surrender the ego stories, redefine yourself as pure loving light and sovereignty, and then transmute for something new. That's the plus, because we're coming out of all the negative stories, and now we're making a plus, because the universe is always about balance. And so what they were showing me, as giving you an example of what we're talking about, is the multidimensional expression and exploration experience of who I am as a conduit and as a vessel of the holy light, and the creator of holy light, and how to express and experience these in human forms, of where we're moving into in the fifth dimensional, so that you understand that you are a multidimensional vibrational experience. You're living on a planet as one, and each and every one of you are threaded as one. Whatever you are going through at a soul level that must be reviewed and refined, and creating new choices for yourself, you will see manifest in a subconscious or vibrational manner, a pulsation of energy that your higher self and your soul, whatever is vibrating within your multidimensional allness, that needs to be reviewed, that needs to be looked at, acknowledged, faced. And in an experience of the reasoned experience on your planet of one of your collectives, sisters, Gabby, the experience of that traveler that was killed, and her experience on the collective level. Joanna was feeling this in her fields, and she was pondering the energies and the vibrations that she was processing for the collective, because it was mirroring energies within stories and other things that were coming into the collective mirror on social platforms. And therefore, in the soul experience and soul records of the collective of divine feminine, and the various abuses of power, and the various misogynistic energies, and the various imbalances throughout history, and throughout other galaxies as well, about the ideologies of divine feminine or sexes of any definition, and how all are being faced upon the collective to be reviewed and to be processed in a vibrational of love and oneness and compassion, and again, forgiveness. And so when all of these energies come into the fore for Joanna, she's able to look at the energies are placed before her so she can understand how to transmute, because she's not only seen it from her unique soul's perspective, she has seen it from the collective perspective, and now because she's opening up to a greater field of light, as many empaths do and many crystals do, and why this information will be so valuable for those that are mothers of crystal children, rainbow children, and so on and so forth, because you are many empaths awakening as well, how to understand energy at a multidimensional experience as the planet is moving through changes in your collective. Your hearts are being sown as one. Anything that happens on the collective issue, you will all be processing that energy, how it relates to you, how it relates to your soul story, and how to clear it, and how to make peace with it, and how to honor it so that you're choosing in a higher vibrational oneness, healing those core wounds. And so Joanna can feel it at the collective level, and having to, the mind, the lower ego mind, we say lower, it's just how you've come from three dimensional, because the minds and the brains right now are all being rewired to a fifth dimensional experience. So we say that because everyone is at a different state of processing light, and they've given this title to me, the progression of light. Where each and every person is at the progression of light will determine what and how they can process and integrate the experiences in their experience. Someone that is steeped within their dark night of the soul experience and still going through so much releases, and again, we've always said this is quantitative or not qualitative either. It's all perfect in how it sounds. But this is why you will find at a collective level why there will be each person understanding what we are saying and offering in a different manner. Some will have absolutely integration and allowance of everything that's being said, and they're able to process and integrate what we are offering at a multidimensional level. And then there are others that it doesn't make any sense at all, because they haven't released enough density to be able to understand the information. And because of the belief systems and the dogmatic experiences that they've been held within, to say that everything is such a linear experience of density and separation, and that's okay. It's all perfect. It's all perfect. There is no judgment on any of it. But in these experiences of the lower mind to the higher mind, this is how we're offering it to you so that you can understand how the conduit is being able to offer a vibrational and a physical expression of an experience in your collective. That one experience has informational, vibrational experiences that I can see and sense and feel at various levels from a different many perspectives, right? Because we're multidimensional, different perspectives that experience can be seen and felt from, and I can feel it and see it and sense it. And so as these energies were coming up, I said, well, how can I suggest this to the collective so that when we go through these experiences at a collective experience, and it's a suffering and it's a tragedy, how do we move through it so that we're not operating from just seeing the blame and the distortions of it, because that's how we're used to processing tragedy. How can we process it from the highest perspective and really start transmuting the energy? And the collective is, because we're still in COVID, because we're in this experience of control with masks, vaccines or no vaccines, and we're continuing this back and forth of, discernment, right? And knowing who we are and valuing who we are, but it's being a lot that's pressed upon the collective, and we want to kind of free that up. And so what we offer every day is just kind of creating a new vortex. So when you're feeling as an empath and you're in your own daily self-care, and these energies are coming to you, and it could be, as we talk about in our community sessions and meetings and meditation groups, is that when we as light workers come to the fore, and we as even parents, there's a whole bunch that's being placed on us to work through and to process. Not taking all of it on, but just saying we can do something about the collective experience of tragedy. And that is, anytime that it comes into your experience, is to honor and respect and the value of that soul's experience and what it's honoring you and teaching you specifically, as well as what it possibly means for the collective and what it means for any other experience that you're being shown. Because I'm a conduit and a universal expressioner, I can see it from different perspectives and how I operate, and I'm learning how I'm receiving information is a lot more multidimensional and quicker And so I'm having to also alter how I offer, and also get to the point on how it's going to connect the collective and how we can process those energies. So what I was feeling this morning is the experiences from a multidimensional level, and I had to process that energy because I'm a conduit, and in my field of connectiveness, the field that I operate in, I can feel it. It resonates as a density. It resonates and I got to clear it out. And then I've got to reorganize my energy. I got to call it in and focus it so that I'm creating what I want to create, because I can feel things at a multidimensional level, so I can express and explain it, how it affects us, how tragedy and suffering affects us as one collective. This is under the law of one. And so honoring, again, why I'm explaining what I'm explaining. It always has reason. And why it affects us. And if we're not allowing ourselves within these smaller family circles, your friendship circles, your mates, your friends, and if we're not expressing it and talking about it, talking about how we're feeling is really important. Not necessarily get stuck on the yes or no, the right or wrong, because it is all right for everybody and where they're at, to understand who they are and create that discernment. What feels right for me? To talk about how you're feeling and then go back within, always return back within. Well, what do I feel is right for me? Right? What is this experience showing me? How do I feel? And what is right for me so that I can choose my way of becoming? And there we go. So that's why we're changing from, there's so much out there and you can get lost in it all forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. But we don't have to. We don't have to. There's lots that do and choose to, and then you get stuck on those cycles that just keep going around. And that's when people get overwhelmed, lots of anxiety, not sleeping, overwhelmed with depression. So you can pull yourself out of that by saying you can just let go of all those stories, clear your field, bathe your aura in light, take lots of salt baths and spiritual baths, play with the ocean and get out in Gaia, reset your field, and then you can choose how it affects you and then go forward. And so that's really important on anything that's going on out there, because right now the whole collective is being saturated with so much. And if you're not doing regular clearing and working on daily self-care, journaling and processing your dreams and anything that comes up as a fear, then that can be really overwhelming. That's when people behave and interact as if their whole unique multidimensional systems are being overwhelmed, and they either suppress and depress and use substances to numb the senses. If they're not being grounded, then it can feel very flighty and scattered. And then you just focus on grounding and lots of breath work to bring all of the consciousness in and center in the center of your bodies. And I've had to work with lots of breath work with high vibrational kids, because they spend a lot of time up in the ethers because it's not comfortable with the aggression and the disconnectedness here on Earth. And so many of us that are crystals, we've worked with those types of energies, and really grounding is really important because it allows you to feel more in your body and more safe. So just practicing those easy family tips, really helps kids get out of that anxiety and that fear, that it's okay for them to talk about how they're feeling. What's right for them is their decision and choice, because they will always be guided, and redirecting them back to spirit, getting them to trust themselves as spirit is really, really important, because spirit is always holding them in this beautiful cosmic experience of cosmic egg and gentleness. And God will always support spirit, God, the creator. All that is constantly they have guides. Every child has guides, and just empowering them. You've got guides. Just trust yourself. What does your inner guidance say? Ask your guides to come to you in your dreams and help you process what you're going through. Really empower the children to take full ownership and responsibility and mentorship of who they are. And their guides are working with them, waiting for them to tune in and be that level of expertise with themselves, because they're very precise in who they are once they get aligned with that remembrance, because they're far more delicate in their experiential discoveries, inner, outer, upper, above, than we've ever been. And we're just remembering that now as we're all awakening as a collective. And so the Bergamot is, again, another one as you're working through, before your daily self-care and at nighttime. Anytime you're feeling a little bit stressed, just kind of, spray it around, in the children's room before they go to bed. And if they've had a stressful day, before they get on computers, just spray some essential oils. Oh, it smells so nice. And it brings your focus right back to the heart. The presence is so important, because then you're not reacting from ego reactive. And you're just present with your heart, and then you choose from that higher space, and it's more calm. Your body has been renewed. The endocrine system has just been opened up a little. And just slow the systems down. And just learning how to work with energy, especially when you're feeling and becoming more aware of collective experiences. And as often as possible, turn off what you're being fed in the media. And just when you're feeling something in your fields, or it comes across your desk or your social platforms, then just process the energy and say, we honor and respect her soul for her story and how she's allowed us to become more in balance of our oneness and the sacredness that her journey taught us. And then reflect upon what it means for you, and then transmute those energies. I'm honoring her soul's path, and then releasing any of the stories and the stuff that many are getting stuck on, the blame and all of that, all of those energies. And it's okay to sit there for give yourself a certain amount of time. You want to do that, and then move into, let's just transmute the energies. Because you want to be able to have your space in your fields as clear as possible, because you want those extra gifts and you want that fluid experience with source to be able to flow through you. Feels great. And then your body is nice and fluid and just, it's like jelly. Feels great. It feels great. It feels great. And you're not getting stuck on those things, because that energy kind of sits there and it gets stuck, and then it kells and more energy gets stuck, and then you're really rigid. And you want to be nice and flowing and movable. And then again, talk to the children too. Let's just decompress and just release any energies. What do you want to talk about? Let's take in some breath. I care about you, and I care about how you feel. What are you going through? Get them used to returning back to center. How do I feel about that? What could I have said differently? And then say, well, how could you have handled that in a new way that absolutely honors who you are? Return them back to self-honor. How can I respond tomorrow so that I'm honoring my spirit, I'm honoring my expression, and I'm allowing myself to be shared in new ways? And that's all what we're learning in our collective, especially for divine feminine and minorities, because we have been incredibly left out. Our expression and our stories have been literally written out of society and our history. And so it takes a brave and courageous soul to come forward. And they're pointing me back to what the councils of light said. And sometimes they're showing me, sometimes the councils of light come in and they offer that divine and heavenly support for each and every one of you that have been working so hard to manifest your highest and your best dream. And you're the ones that are doing the work and devotion and commitment. And others are just kind of taking and running with what they think is their share and entitlement when they haven't done the inner work. And there's no judgment. But Spirit and the councils are saying that there absolutely is time for fair and equitable sharing and rebalancing. And it's not fair that there's those experiences for those that work really hard and devote their lives to it. And they're saying many lifetimes. I've devoted many lifetimes for human experience and evolution. And they're now showing me back to when I was a Pleiadian coming here to that tribe. So I'm very grateful. Thank you, Spirit. And so fragrances allow us to do that. They allow us just to lighten up through the sensings and the multidimensional abilities that we have just to create that blessing. And bergamot also, along with cinnamon, because we want to talk about cinnamon today. I'm drinking some cinnamon water. It's a natural herb. It's actually a bark. And we all love the smell of cinnamon, and how they're both experiences of, that antidote about bacteria through infections and keeping our bodies and repairing the cells. And so just putting a teaspoon in your water and having a glass of cinnamon water can really help you become more alive and more in directorship with your body and with what your body needs. And you'll be directed. Guides will direct you in your daily self-care. Is there an herb I can work with? Is there a tonic I can work with? Is there a spray I can work with? What would work with my kids? And with your intention to create a nourishing environment for their highest growth, mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. That's, as parents, our greatest gift. We're not here to tell them what to do or to guide them in our old traditional limitations. We are here to understand that they're all masters. They all come with a different DNA, and the traditions that we're putting them into, if you will, not necessarily serving their potentiation of their highest creativity, health and wellness, and who they feel they are within a spirit, with spirit, as spirit. And so it's It's up to those who so desire. It's always free will, of course, because it's the law of one and the universal law of right use of free will. Those that have come to experience exactly what they're meant to experience, which is what we're going to talk about next, is the soul blueprints for all children and families, and how we are threaded together as a collective family, and why I took you earlier on that story with Gabby, how I experience the vibrational fields. I can feel these energies of whatever experience is going on in the collective, and then I am offered that opportunity to express this to the collective as a story as to what's going on and how to transmute it, how to honor every soul's path in the collective and what it has offered you in your own oneness of that experience. Because that's how we become one. That's how we become masters. Understanding that you're here for a grand purpose. You are here for the highest vibrational opportunity that you are and can, of joy and light and love. We're meant to have fun here, people. We really are. We're meant to be in joy. That's the portal to the 5D. Are you in joy of spirit? Spirit, 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 all things in between. Spirit, 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 spirit. Are we in joy? Are we threading that infinity loop of joy? And when we entangle, these are quantum entanglements. And why? Anything that's going on in your field affects all others. So if we're not clearing these energies of tragedy, they continue to stay within the land. And what they showed me last week in a global webinar about those other beautiful divine souls that were between that 11-year process that were also had their lives taken. And there was close to 800 women in that same similar area. Many were indigenous, and why there was the lack of attention. And so Gabby's story was a portal to also pay homage and bring awareness to the much degradation and writing out of women, and their lives matter. Every single soul, and there was 800 just in that one area over an 11-year experience. And so these are the collective energies that I feel, and we've got a process, and I did a clearing for them, and we did a ceremony for all of those women that had their voices that were not heard and valued and honored as the unique, beautiful souls that they were. And how can we change it as a collective? Where are our belief systems when that occurs? And it goes back to the original wound, that initial wound of each and every person. Any experience of a wounded and a wounder, it's all wounds. So each represent that wound, and it must be cleared and healed, because those women will come back with that wound in the next lifetime. And they will have to carry that experience of persecution, unfair and unjust treatment, abuse, and they'll have to clear those in their next life. And they're also held in the energy field. See, the energy field of Gaia. And that one area where 800 deaths occurred, that energy has to be cleared and lifted, and ceremonies brought back, so that we're returning those energies to the sacredness of balance that Gaia was representing the offering of. She has to remain in balance too, but we've never ever paid attention to that. And why oftentimes when you're an empath, when you're a crystal or an energy worker, you can go to various sites around the world, whether it's a war zone or a sacred site, you can feel the energy and the stories within them, as I've often talked about in my radio shows. When I go to sacred sites, I get stories that have never been written about or known about, because they're the energies and the stories coming from the crystalline multidimensional frequencies that is the Christ consciousness, again, outside of religion. They're the multidimensional stories is Metatronic light. It's all vibrational stories, sacred geometry, the harmony of spirit that's just flowing through those that have the energy to process it, integrate it, understand it, then transmute it, and then send it out. We are constantly evolving, constantly. When we're stuck in these stories of limitation and fear and controlling experiences, we are shutting ourselves down from what the potentiation is of our evolution. And so there are those experiences where we must create the clearing of those quantum entanglements, and I can feel them, the quantumness of experience. And so the soul's blueprint, the children's blueprint, every child comes with a co-creative contract with every parent, usually also as well with every person that's of substantial experience in their life, like great and honored teachers that we've always had experiences with and beautiful experiences with. It's a beautiful experience of the quantum potentiation of a soul blueprint, and it's done at the very highest of levels of when we each come here, how we want to experience who we are with spirit, what will be the themes. Those themes of every child that comes forward is also connected and threaded with all those that they come with in a family, the friends that they will have, and the collective. And that's what's called the Sacred Trinity. The Sacred Trinity of who you come with, your soul's experiences will always thread with the collective, always. Otherwise you wouldn't be a part of the collective. Your unique initial story And this is where they want me to make this important point of experience, and why the understanding of energy and the law of one is so important to the wounded and the wounders. Doesn't matter what side of the experience or the equation anyone sits on at any one point in time, because we all have to work through the shadow, honor the inner child to get to that experience of light, to see things from a higher perspective of wholeness and oneness. Any experience that causes any type of wounding, there is that same wound within that being that has experienced that experience on either side, whether it's from the Akash, the lineage, from the multidimensional perspective, or from this timeline and infinite experience. And so it's the return of the wound, and how that wound gets healed. As we said yesterday, much of our planetary experience can be resolved by returning to the spirit within and healing and nourishing the spirit. Because that's what that child that wounds, that wounded child that got wounded when that child was born, or 2 or 5, that wound carries through that quantum entanglement and it affects everybody. So if that wound is not being dealt with and healed, that energy becomes then more aggressive and experiences wounding and wounder, being the wounder. And so that can be resolved by going within and healing those experiences where that soul was wounded. Because it all can be brought back into balance. And many of the imbalances that many feel is because there's many imbalances, because they're not being nourished. So how can one nourish oneself? The soul blueprint for the child has those soul contracts in anybody and all people that they come in contact with. Even if it's just a quick meeting, that you're meeting somebody at a fair and they're a long lost friend from a soul tribe from another galaxy and planet. There's also those experiences called walk-ins. And there's also those experiences where your soul tribe and your galactic and cosmic experience are just right in front of you, and you've just come around the corner and there they are, and you just had that initial exchange of energy to remind you about who you are when you need those activations. And I've had many of those, and many of you that have been awake for some time in Galactica and Celestial Excited, you have those experiences where, wow, that really felt like a really incredible experience, and you have those activations. And that's what the conduits like us, we offer in our fields, to remind you of who you are, to remind you that you're a cosmic being, and you have those beautiful spiritual integrations and triggers, like, wow, why did I feel so incredible when that happened, or when she was talking about that, or they were offering that? It's because there's energy within your fields, and the quantum experience that we all play really affects the evolution of that experience, and triggers a memory, triggers an activation, triggers the field to open up and let that energy flow. Those of us that are mothers and light workers and so on, we all play a part in our children's evolution and development, and we're here to inspire, empower, and encourage the highest growth potential that we're able. That's it. They are masters. They will make their choices, and to offer them the highest beautiful self-love and self-empowerment and self-guidance for themselves, so that they're absolutely behaving in their most sovereign experience, of course, age appropriate. And they're living from that space of, no, I'm going to speak my truth, and this doesn't feel good for me, and I'm going to speak it. And they have that confidence and that clarity and that precision of who they are. And that's about returning back to self. And in those experiences, you each contract with one another to bring forward the best and the experiences of, your weaknesses and those things that you want to work on at a soul level. Because your soul in this one body is also other aspects of personalities and bodies on other planets right now, other timelines right now. It's all a now experience. And you have these beautiful soul contracts with your children and family, because you want those activations to see the absolute potentiation of anything, and how one another offer those reflections to go within, just as Gabby did. How is this reflecting me? How can I use this in a benevolent way for me? How can I evolve who I am? How can I soften into compassion and love and forgiveness, and I create something new for myself? And then we're also clearing it for the collective. And you're also clearing it for your family. And if anything occurs in the family, and again, why the quantum energy of your children affect you and you affect them, and allowing those new daily self-care experiences to be a part in clearing and cleansing this space, and allowing them to also learn and understand that, it's so profound and powerful to return the power back within. And we're becoming the activators of our own light, and the activators of our own self-guidance, the activators of our own self-intention and self-guidance of who we are as love. Because each and every one of us know that we are held safely and securely, and we are infinitely expansive and expressive, and we can jet out into any experience. That's what we want for our children. We want our children to be the most expansive and brilliant experiences for their own desire of who they are, and accepting them fully in their soul's experience, not wanting to change it and make it different, but for us just to sit back and hold space. reminding them that they're spirit, reminding them that they're infinite creators, reminding that their reality is absolutely changeable. They are not the victim of their environment. They are the creators of heaven upon earth, and heaven lives through them. Each and every one of us. Heaven lives through you. You're not a victim. So allow yourself to reclaim your power, reclaim your light, create that daily self-care for health and wellness and balance, and ask your teams and be intimate with your teams and what you're moving through. And then anything in the collective that comes up, it's coming up because it's related to what you're going through at some level, at a deep, really deep level, like I experienced this morning. It was a really deep level for me, and I did some more clearing on that. And then I also did clearing for the collective, and then I realigned, and then I was expressing myself anew, so that I'm not continuing to carry those worries and that concern. Just clear it, right? What else did you want to? That helps fight bacteria, the soul's blueprint, the community. Oh, and then again, creating greater community light. So when you're showing that care for who you are, understanding your soul's blueprint, interacting with your children, as well as all people that you come in contact with, even those ones that we don't know, like Gabby, that was a soul contract that she and her experiencer had an opportunity to experience and co-create together. And there's always reasons at the highest of levels, and why that again was a portal for those other 800 women that were not even known about in our collective. So that we're processing and we're releasing all of our collective injuries and wounds. And how does that relate to each and every one of us? That's what our collective shows us. How is this relating to me? And not getting mad and upset about it and just increasing the anger and aggression because it's overwhelming. But to ground and center and say, that doesn't belong to me, that can go now, that can go now, that can go now, because a lot of the stuff that you're fed in the media can also be fear induced as well. So really discern for yourself what feels light and what feels good and informing and truthful for you, and then turn it off and give yourself only 5 minutes, and then get on with creating the light that you so desire. Really invest and direct your energy in ways that serve you and your collective being in your home, learning how to upkeep the vibration in your home. And also ask for help too. Every person in the house, every person in that collective has a responsibility to keep and maintain their own light. And then also too, we'll talk about that in another show, because so many people are going through it. Because the progression of light, we say progression of light, meaning that every soul has a unique purpose, delivery, pacing, and temperament of how they're processing and integrating light. And it's all perfect for each soul. There's no competition and there's no grading. That's what the ego mind wants to put us back in, because it's always been lack of value and lack of self. So return to center, know that you're all perfect. What you're going through is all perfect. Everyone's divine. Everyone has a unique path with God, Spirit, the Creator. But what that means is that how you're able to process what that means for you because of your role in the collective. You might have a unique role that's specific to that one experience, and you might need a lot of processing and integrating time. Just like myself, I've had 15 years of doing this. So I've been doing this for so long. And that's what I needed, so that I could activate all those other lifetimes where I was a teacher, activate all those other gifts, activate what I'm here to experience in a new way, and then process so that I'm able to create the energy of leader and participator at a higher level, so that I can offer others those experiences at many different levels. Do you see what we're saying? So it depends on why you're here and what your soul blueprint and your child's soul blueprint, and why you go through the experiences that you do, because it offers you that depth and that navigation that you're absolutely going to need. You need that navigational potential. And so oftentimes what you go through has served. The creators have told me, and we'll just close off with this, and we'll do an oracle. The creators have told me, as I asked them a little while ago, I said, well, why would I create that? And they said, well, go within, go deeper. And then, so I sat with them and I said, deeper. And they said sometimes it's not necessarily what comes to you first, because sometimes we go to, is that a reflection of me? Because that's just the genre that we've been told. And yes and no, there's always a multidimensional experience. And as we've said, when you awaken to your multidimensionality, and when you awaken, what you see in a dream and what you envision as a process is going to change the next day, because you've evolved so tremendously. We're changing so fast. So it's really important to do that daily self-care in your journaling, because you're going to see yourself change in all of these incredible ways. And that's where you really earn your mastery, is by going back and reflecting, choosing anew, refining, and then you get to create that new experience of you. So amazing. And that's the profound evolution that's happening all throughout our galaxy. Because you, again, are affecting, when you have an activation and a trigger and you're integrating and taking that time to truly process, your children are being available in that light as well. And that's how we evolve as a collective. And that's so incredible. And they said, well, no, go deeper. And it was about the acceptance of the spiritual gifts that I'd always had, that I had suppressed, was the real reason that the manifestation of that experience came through, which was, I didn't even connect the dots until I had to go deeper within, because it was held within the root chakra and the sacral. And so they showed me the experience of that and why and when, and pulled up that that experience, psyche wound. And then it was cleared and then honored and valued. And that will be an experience, because we're all evolving creatively and our gifts are opening in many ways. And those of you that are light workers, those of you that are coming forward with gifts that we don't even have words for, because all of our gifts are changing. Even if you've been a psychic for 10 years, those gifts are going to be changing. And how we used to do things before is not how we're going to do them now. We have entirely new grids. We have entirely new timeline potentials. And so allow yourself to be very fluid and liquid and available and open to how you are changing as a multidimensional being. And ask your teams, how can I change and be more excited to embrace my new gifts in a new way? Because if you're feeling stagnant or something's just not working, then you absolutely know that your gifts are being amplified in a new way. And often they'll tell you to soften and just relax and get rest, because you are going through a rewrite in the brain. The brain is rewiring how you interpret and process information, and why balancing your multidimensional bodies and systems so that you're not mentally imbalanced or emotionally imbalanced is going to be really important. Remember, if we're not honoring who we are as multidimensional beings, it affects everything. Everything. You can't process and activate your gifts if you're really imbalanced because of the woundings and traumas that you might not even know you have. So if that daily self-care is not being made, then that is when your timeline gets stagnant, your experiences get stagnant, tower moments happen, because your teams are trying to get you to wake up. Wake up and clear, you got stuff to do, right? Take ownership. And of course, we've been coming from thousands and thousands of years of, giving our power away, being told that we're not worthy and we're not with God, that we just believe it. And that's so incredible, because that came out yesterday. And we're going to do our 3 cards here. I love this deck. And that's so beautiful, because again, we're talking about how we receive everything on the collective level, and how each and every one of our soul's blueprint is connected to the sacred trinity of our planet. And we're all connected at a one heart. What Gaia needs from us, the energies that Gaia keeps on any experience in any one area, is kept in the grids until we clear it. And those of us that are empaths and sacred travelers and sacred activators, we can feel it. So what dream do you have for yourself, for your collective? And allow your children's dreams to be their dreams, and release all expectations and stories to fit them in anything. How we will be changing education will be changing in the very near future, within a couple of years. How we explore and experience ourselves and our world and our planet will be completely different. Completely, because we're not the same people we were in 1950, and yet we're still learning the same experiences. A multidimensional child that's meant to be doing something quantum doesn't have any use for the information held in a traditional system, because they'll have what they need and they'll get what they need when they activate it. They don't have to have the lineage experience of education, no, because they'll just get when they get it. That's the quantum experience of spirit. When I get something, just get it when you get it. Just open up. You're a multidimensional person. You'll get what you need to know when you need to know it. And if you don't need to know it. You still have it if you need it. You don't have to go through the lineage of going through the process of an education experience. No, just know that you've got it with spirit. You'll be activated what you need to know. So education will be more primarily based on the intentions and the excitement of the soul and the spirit itself. It knows what it wants to create and explore. And it will create those activations through experience and excitement. It's always, 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 always the expression of spirit. And the word wants to be written. And again, those stories of the lineage and the Akash and our families and our lineage of the stories held in vibrational imprints. When you come into this earth, you are held in vibrational imprints of whatever your lineage and your Akash has held you to. So especially for divine feminine and all minorities, which every single person on this planet, regardless of what their conscious mind is telling them, every single person on this planet has had other lifetimes on earth as all sexes and all roles, playing all persecutor and persecutee, victim and perpetrator. And so this is why it's really good to go within and start questioning yourself. Is it really okay that I have this really profound judgment of anger and hate towards someone? Because you've held that role. You've held those experiences, and it's about going within and healing those stories that you've come with in your blueprint. Because those are your blueprint, your soul's blueprint. What stories you've come with, what vibrational stories and healings and wound, is up to you to go in and own and clear. And that's not easy for a lot of people, because owning that shadow, even though that hate and that judgment is a shadow, it's not an easy experience. And all will have to move through it if they so choose to move forward on the path, is owning the experiences that you choose to judge, because it's part of your expression. You've created it. We've all played the experiences, and why, our world will have to rewrite how we, the whole process of crime and going back to the original experience of who we are as spirit will resolve so much on our planet. You can create 1,000 more jails. It's not going to heal the wounds that create the wounds and the corruption. Those that wound and those that are choosing corrupt systems, they've got the wounds. They got to be healed. Just creating more jails isn't going to solve it. We have to come with a higher resolve. And so it's important that we all look at everything that comes across our vibrational experience and really own it, clear it out, journal it. How are you evolving? What does that mean to you? How does that mean for you? And how are you able to create as a collective of oneness? Because those are sitting in your field of offering for you to evolve. And if you're not honoring that evolutionary process, it will continue to stay stuck, and you'll continue to experience what you experience until it gets brought forward. That is the evolutionary process of the transformation, which is with the butterflies. Your soul blueprint comes with an infinite amount of potentiation for you to grow as spirit. Spirit says you can do it. If it's in your blueprint, you can transcend this. But that's about your belief system of who you are, what you exist within, as we've taught about in all of our offerings. And so the final card was, again, so once you do that, once you're going through this process and you're going to say what, and don't take everything on, because it can be overwhelming, especially in what we're going through right now, when there's the control experiences on our planet are being amplified, because it's allowing humanity to say, what are we really giving our power away to, and why? Why can't we just return power back to us and release yourself from those old stories? So don't take everything on in one day. When you're working with your daily self-care, take one item a day. That's enough. And then allow yourself that time to process self-love, self-care, return to self with affirmations and love and compassion, honoring what you're moving through. Don't think you have to move through 3 or 4 lifetime stories in a minute, because that's not possible. I mean, we're on overload and overwhelm right now. So take one thing a week that you want to work on. If you do it by chakras, I always refer and offer, depends on how much trauma you've experienced and abuse you've experienced and how much dysfunction you've experienced, only working with 1 to 2 chakras per week and focusing on that healing in a weekly period, if you will. And especially if it's around full moons or new moons, you want to change up that experience, because it's a lot to process. And I'm also suggesting, they're also suggesting, is detach from what's going on out in the collective and what's on the news and the media, so that you're not overwhelming yourself even more. Because we've come from such ego-based oligarchic systems of having to perform for value, having to perform for self-worth, having to perform for love. And we're releasing all of those and deconstructing all of it. And this is what then brings you to your new birth, because you will be very vulnerable. When you release some of these stories that are eons, thousands of years steeped in lineage and dogma, you're really vulnerable. And so that's when many of us, we just hold up in retreat form and we become hermits. A lot of us. I only see people once or twice a week. I'm hermit mode all the time, all the time, because I work with energy. I work with collective and global and galactic universal energies, constantly processing. And so constantly vulnerable in those new states of becoming, because you got to learn how to work with your new gifts. You got to learn how to work with your body and process energy. And so it's a vulnerable experience. So honor it. It's a really sacred experience, and that's why we come forward. All that we offer and all that we co-create in a multidimensional experience, as the councils of light are now tuning in as we close, it's brought forward as a passion, because they're saying what Joanna offers is for you to remember and for you to honor and for you to really activate and awaken within how truly special you are, how dynamic you are, how profound you are, and God holds you so dearly. Spirit and Creator holds you so dearly. You have infinite potential to navigate and to manifest and co-create in whatever way you want. You have infinite potentiality to create new health systems and new wellness for yourself, and understand you and your children and everything on such a deep level where you just feel like, wow, you feel like this beautiful butterfly that just gets to be so vibracious in life, right? You get to be that for yourself. You get to say, no, I'm going to choose a really great story. I'm going to be rich in spirit. And I'm going to say, I don't want those stories anymore. This is the story I want. I'm going to rewrite it note by note, because I get to. And then you get to feel yourself with spirit move through everything. And it's just a matter of aligning in breath and knowing. And so it is a multidimensional, very sacred experience. Your body is sacred. Your multidimensionality is sacred. Your remembrance of why you're here and who you're here with and your collective and your planet. You will awaken to your cosmic and your universal belonging within this sacred story. Everything matters. All life is so very sacred. And even in those most incredible, challenging experiences that we've all seen and experienced for one another and for our reflections that we see in our outer experience, have compassion for everyone in the process and release, any and all experiences that you're holding within, and really go within to the depths of that story and why you're being triggered in the ways that you are, and sort it out. Give yourself time to be gentle and sort it out, so that you're not carrying it, and you can clear it from your collective, you can clear it from your family, you can clear it from the lineage, and you can clear it from the planet and the grids. And that's each person's responsibility. Just because you have a light worker in your family, it's not their responsibility to do everybody's work for them. No, every person is responsible for their light, for their health, for their wellness, and for their soul's direction. That's why we come with guides and teams of beings that work with us. But it's up to us to manifest that and be that and intend that and then direct it and invest it in positive and loving ways. So we're all creating really benevolent timelines and really benevolent experiences for our bodies. And we can release ourselves from synthetic experiences that don't serve the multidimensionality of who we are as spirit. So we love you, dear lighted ones. We hope that you've had fun with us today on this beautiful experience of our Ascension show, and how health and wellness, daily self-care, understanding children's soul blueprint, and how we can ease up a little bit, understand their masters. And they wanted me to take back, we had an experience this week in one of our gatherings, and we were just reminding everyone that as a mother and as a parent, if you're sitting in those experiences of worry and constant anxiety about your children and the worry about their life and the paths that they're taking, when you're returning yourself and understanding what we've offered in the various simplistic ways, you can then start seeing them in their healed state. You can start seeing them in their most masterful state of self-confidence and self-love and self-awareness, and choosing their path of mastery, and just knowing that of them. Not projecting them in any particular arena, but just see them as their most expansive, masterful experience of love. When you create those energies, as opposed to worrying and anxiety, you're creating those new timeline potentials with them, as opposed to creating timelines there where your worries are manifesting. All that you worry and all that you fret about was manifesting with them. The energy exchange is worry, and you're placing those projections on your children, and that's the expectation they're coming with. That's why our whole society is being projected illness and not having any power of their health. The society and the controlling systems are projecting those energies to us, and we're just taking it on without even questioning. Whereas returning to your power and saying, no, they have their power, they're masters. I'm going to protect your awesomeness and your wellness and your beautifulness, and you're going to have your own self-direction, your own self-confidence, so that anything on the outside experience, whether it be any type of any negative experience, whether it's bullying, energetically, vibrationally, whatever is going on in the outer experience, they're creating heaven from within. And then those experiences won't even touch them, and they won't even manifest, because you're relearning how to be spirit and live as spirit. And then all of those experiences aren't even in your experience, because it's just a vibrational mismatch. And so that's how to understand energy and navigate it with grace and integrity. And so we love you, dear lighted ones. For those of you that would love to donate, we would love your offerings. I value them in all ways. It helps us to continue our quantum exploration and creating a beautiful experience on Earth. And we love you so very much. If you want private sessions, webinars, and classes, our links are below. We offer healing classes and vibrational communities of light every week. And we appreciate the honor of the fair exchange of resources that we've always offered. So many videos and so many offerings from many of our radio stations and many of our classes and webinars over a 15-year period, plus many other lifetimes that I've been here. And so we have offered so much energy and attention and beautiful intention of resources from our hearts to yours in the Celestial Councils of Light and the Galactic Federations. And we're helping all of our human collective allow themselves to awaken to a higher vibrational remembrance of who we are as a one family of love and light. And we honor you so much. Thank you, dear lighted ones. And our links are below. And we love you. And remember to play. We're meant to have fun. Bye.